Welcome back and thanks for joining us. Of course, this is still Rise and Shine Saturday, the very relaxed and entertaining, full of laughter, part of our breakfast show. And I'm super excited to be doing this with you. Francis has been bringing all the, but you've seen how quiet I have been all day. Very quiet and all nice. But if you're just joining us, we are streaming live on YouTube at the moment. And we just brought you a fresh slice of something juicy. Francis told you that when we return, we're going to be bringing you something fresh. Not the way you always know it. But we got a lion into the studio this morning. And it's not every day that the greats walk past you, especially if you're from Akwa Ibom and the world over. But Akwa Ibom people will really, really understand. We snatched the lion into the studios this morning, and we have the very delectable Anyeke Mefimba. Ooh, the name coming out of the mouth alone. Of course, he's the special assistant to the governor and Akwa Ibom State Government on social reorientation. And it's such a delight to have him in our studios this morning. Good morning, Fimba. Good to have you on the show.
It's amazing. Great morning, guys. I have been enjoying you all morning. Thanks to Francis and Oyai. You've been fantastic and phenomenal, and I must appreciate the great talent that you bring to the game, the passion, and the fact that you do this with a lot of happiness and style. I mean, nobody sees the problems of Nigeria through you. you're just amazing, and you're wonderful. Thank you. Happy weekend, and it's good to be here.
I must also add that Anyeke Mefimba is a multinational media guru. That voice you just heard, it's one of the biggest voices on our airwaves in this state. So, my God, I was blown away. He refused to take my reactionary shots without seeing me smiling and shaking my head. I mean, it's something else. It's so great to have you.
It's so good to be here. So nice to be here.
Okay, so there's a picture. I don't know. I hope, producer, can you get the picture I just sent across on the screen? I wanted to start this conversation from that very picture because we know that you're just fresh out, this Ember month. Brothers who are abroad, I just got back from the UK. I just got back from the US. They talk that way and try to pressure some of us. But God no go great.
Hey!
No! Yeah.
I didn't see this coming.
We want to start from here.
Yeah.
We want to start from here. So you were enlisted into, of all the places, Forbes. How does it feel to be inducted into some of the amazing group, one of such being Forbes, as a black influencer, as someone who has done phenomenally great in your field of endeavor?
I feel very delighted, in any opportunity you have to serve and to join a community of people who share like ideals. I take it very tremendously, and one of such is the Forbes black community. At the back, as a result of the Black Lives Matter movement in the United States, incessant killings of blacks by policemen and all of that, the Forbes management decided to create a unique community for black entrepreneurs, for creators, for leaders to actually have a group, a community where they can share ideals, where they can interact, where events can be organized and experiences can be shared. And I decided to create that Forbes Black community. Of course, it's not an all-comers community. They get to approve who belongs, and you have to make an application and provide all your details, including detailed links to all your social media accounts. They do a lot of background check and then accept who joins the community. And of course, I'm sure that they do look out for people who have got things to contribute and to offer, that indeed you are doing something to change society from your own end. So whether you are a professional in the medical field or in law, in architecture, or in ICT, or in the media space, or you are a coach, or you are a consultant, I've seen a mishmash of people and a full mix in the community from several African countries and including black Americans. It's a very rich black community, and once you get into such a space, you feel naturally excited. And for folks like us, we always take advantage of contacts like that. And I've already taken advantage, and we're still interacting and finding, the common denominator and how we can use those contacts to better ourselves and our immediate society.
One would also want to ask, what are some of the primary objectives of the Forbes Black community? Because just recently we saw quite a number of persons being inducted and given that particular. So one would want to understand, what are your roles? What do you do for your communities as a specific assignments given to you by Forbes?
You know, the finest form of a capital is not financial capital, it's not cash capital, it's social capital. It's you are as rich as the quality of the people you know and interact with. And for Forbes to have created, you know, such an amalgam of fantastic people, they just handed over to you wealth. It's left for you to know how to explore, how to take advantage, how to, you know, connect and make things possible. You find indeed solutions to all of your problems if you're smart enough. They get to organize events themselves, you know, and again, since you're a member of the community, access to those events are free and you are able to know those events. Like I said, you're as rich as the people you know, you're as rich as the information you hear, you know, because there are so many things that you would have loved to take advantage if you've heard about it, exhibitions or conferences, seminars, fellowships, some of them outside of your immediate country. But if you don't get to hear and you don't even get to apply and you don't even get to take advantage of all of that, you are not able to. So that community in itself is a very rich collection of people. So away from the events that they organize and then the materials, of course, you know, Forbes, they have newsletters, they have the magazine, so you don't have to pay for the subscription, which ordinarily should cost at least $48,000 or thereabout, but you get to get all of that for free. And even the newsletters and the magazines in themselves are very rich, and they actually possess a lot of rich information therein. So these are the kind of groups we get excited to belong to. It's like also, you know, I just returned from the United States for US State Department sponsored a program called International Visitors Leadership Program. That's another very rich collection of people. Every year, the United missions in all over the world, they select certain people in certain professional fields, send you to the United States, and you stay for up to a month, interact with the best of their government officials, the best of their professors, the best of their institutions, the best of everything. And then you come back home and then you are inducted into an alumni community that is absolutely so rich. So those are exclusive groups that one should aspire in life. And I will continue, like I had in my master class a few days ago, I also created a special community and we operate on WhatsApp. And I get to share to them information that I cannot even share on my social media accounts because I think that's too public, that's not targeted. People may not appreciate it and understand why we're sharing those things. And I shared to them some of the fellowships that they can attain in 2024. These are things that will take you outside of Nigeria. These are things that will take you to meet some of the most amazing people in your fields and all of that. So what we try to do is to encourage people to, you know, navigate towards their own fields, navigate towards the best in your field. And once you're able to interact with the best in your field, something from them will rub off on you, and you suddenly get to, you know, get better. You'll improve yourself, improve your contacts, and all of that.
A lot of social development conversation that you've just dropped there, and you've already entered the next line I was going to go, how you bring this down to affect your immediate community. That is, for instance, the Akwa Ibom community, especially because here in Akwa Ibom, we have those telltales of the Akwa Ibom man that cannot help the next Akwa Ibom man. Something we don't see in the West, something we don't see in the North. But you have Akwa Ibomites who are exposed and have opportunities, but will not have, you know, allow the next Akwa Ibomite to, you know, have those opportunities. So how do you take and leverage on these, you know, exposures that you have to make sure that we have more illustrious and ambitious sons and daughters of Akwa Ibom taking advantage of this? And are we also willing people to take advantage of these opportunities? These
are some of the topics I take on in many of my sessions, conferences, and my master class. It's a case of mentorship, a mentee-mentor relationship that our young people should actually take advantage. It's not a relationship that assures you that you're going to get money almost immediately from your mentors. In fact, you're not supposed to expect any financial compensation from your mentors. It's an opportunity to serve and to learn. And until you avail yourself of such relationships, until you purposely target to create such relationships, you cannot take advantage of it. And you look, see, the Igbo apprenticeship system is a model for such relationships. How does it work? One fine son or daughter of an Igbo man somewhere in the southeast of Nigeria, leaves his home to join the uncle in another city in Nigeria and gets to serve in his supermarket, for instance, or in his spare part shop, and learns and serves for 5 years, for 7 years, and at the end of it, he gets settled in quote. So in the period, he's learned principles of bookkeeping, he's learned accounting, he's learned customer relations, he's learned so many things that the best business schools may not teach you in a practical sense. And at the end of all of it, he gets settled. Sometimes the master gives him or her some money to get compensated. At some other times, they don't completely give the money. But do you know what they share down the line? It's the social contact. It's the commercial contact. The same person who used to supply your master can now comfortably supply you because the person has seen you through the years. It means that if you've been honest enough, you've been diligent enough, that's why you've been able to survive 7 years. So you now go to the new shop by Daddy Mecca, and you find cartons of noodles, you find cartons of sugar, of biscuits, of beverages, of wines, and of different groceries all over the place. And you say, oh, wow, my uncle has not helped me. But you see, a maker served for 7 years, and all those things in the shop may not necessarily be his own. It is a fruit of his ability to tap from a mentor-mentee relationship. So, on the other hand, our people are vastly improving, especially our young Akwa Ibom sons and daughters, but we still have a yard of space to actually match up. There should be more disposition to mentorship. I mean, even in the media. I mean, I want to be a presenter like Francis, and I don't come around the station to watch how Francis, presents. That's how folks like me, we got into the media. We just get to the Akwa Ibom Broadcasting Studios and watch Ashet Rockefeller, do his things in the studio, watch the Michael Bush of this world, and the rest of the big guys. We didn't go there to get paid. We went there to be their friends, to learn, to be their boys. And you see, an opportunity will now follow from there, and you take advantage. It's the same principle in every field, whether it's in medicine, whether it is in law, whether it is in architecture. It is the people who submit themselves to service and mentorship that understand the ropes quickly and grow through the rungs. That's how you separate yourself from your mates who are applying for jobs. You serve yourself into jobs. There are certain jobs that you are going to get and they're not going to be advertised. People complain, oh no, life is not fair, society is not fair, people do things by connection. But life also offers you an opportunity to create your own connections, especially if your father didn't have a good surname. You create your own surname, you break into circles that can actually offer you this advantage. But you can sit down and just grumble and just say, have a sense of entitlement. Our people are not helping people like other people in other parts of the country. The truth is that, are you doing the same things that others are doing and getting results? And I just gave you a model example in the Igbo apprenticeship system that has been highly regarded the world over as one of the most successful entrepreneurship systems that has engendered growth over the years. So my message for our own youth is take advantage of relationships, get into circles, get to interact with the people. Your mentor can be everybody. It starts with your parents, it starts with your teachers, it starts with your lecturers, it starts with anybody that you can, possess anything to learn from. How do you create those relationships? I wrote it in details in my book, This Is Your Moment. Go wash his car. I mean, it is not astronomical science. The man has dirty clothes. Become his dry cleaner. Become his gate man. Do anything you can to break into his circle. And the easiest way to do so is to become a person of service to him. You are a young lawyer aspiring to break in. Carry the bags of that senior advocate of Nigeria. On days that you are free, follow him to court. Try to get attached to his chambers. Try to offer some form of help to him in one way or the other. Yes, it could be difficult to break in, but I tell you, once you're passionate about it, once you're intentional about it, you'll be able to create some of these relationships. And I tell you more solemnly, there are things to learn. You learn the practical secrets of the business, because you see, every profession has a business angle. You can be a lawyer, but there is a legal business. So until you learn the legal business, even if for those who are pastors, there is the church business part of it. I mean, that are not said openly. Church, the secrets to church administration, the secrets to church growth. These are things that may not be said in the open. But as you learn, mostly from observation, you would get to some of these. These are some of the open secrets, because these are no secrets, but they're just hidden from people. And it applies even in politics, you know. You say you've not served anybody because you have a PhD, you're a professor, you can't buy the party nomination form, you have money and you run around the whole place and you don't get elected. And you see somebody with lesser academic qualifications and exposure get to the office. You should learn and ask questions. How did the person do it? If you trace it, you'll find that there is a mentorship system that is assisting this person. Sometimes it could have been the other politician's driver, it could have been his servant, it could have been someone in his circle. And those are the people you can trust to support in every aspect of life. So from politics to religion to every walk of life, you must earn certain levels of promotion, and you do so by service.
This is a true wisdom that you've shared, and some persons know. But let's come to the reality on ground. I know that it takes a whole lot of courage, it takes a whole lot of resilience for you to be able to save somebody for 7 years. And we are in a generation where people want to hammer, like today. They want to start a business today and reap the fruit tomorrow. They want to get close to somebody today and reap the result tomorrow. So how do we get to balance the rush of making it today and the patience of waiting and building a sustainable relationship?
Tell me one very hugely successful person who made it overnight. I just want to know one example of anybody who's successful in any field who made it overnight. It's not possible. It's not possible. That's why you have the rising wave of ritual killings, of internet scam, of different things that young people are doing to make it overnight, to ride Mercedes-Benz, to live in highbrow areas, and to live big. Those are unrealistic patterns, and of course they are also learning. Some of them are getting killed, some of them are getting arrested, some of them are serving their time behind bars, because that is not the path to follow. The path to follow is a path of progression, is a path of steady growth. And then you can celebrate your little wins and your little victories. First, you must discover your purpose. You must discover your line and then pursue it diligently. You must be willing to learn more, to improve yourself more. You ask, okay, this is November. We're in November 2023. Ask the average person, how many certificates have you gotten this year? And there are so many free online certificates. What have you done to improve yourself this year? This is November. Okay, what are your plans for 2024? What are you planning to achieve in the year in August? What are even your plans for 2025? Because there are certain things that you need 2 years to actually achieve. So you just must, life is a progression. I love to read autobiographies and autobiographies of great people. You would find that their life is a study in progress. You follow their footsteps, you follow their pathways, and then you see how you can improve on where they've done. Okay, Barack Obama became the first black American president. Did he just become president overnight? He needed to be a senator. He needed to become a volunteer for political and advocacy causes. He needed to have read law in the university and the rest of the other things that he had done. And so he grew progressively. And when preparation met opportunity, like when he had during the 2004 Democratic Convention, he dazzled like a million stars. That was an opportunity for him. And I mean, the whole nation said, oh, wow, who is this great guy? And a pathway was created for him to become the president of the United States. So you ask yourself, where am I headed? What's my mission in life? What is my realistic pathway? And who are the people that I need to, satisfy all of? Some of your mentors may be distant. You read their books, you send emails to them. I can tell you their mailboxes are not that full because they are not people who are willing to toe that path. Someone writes a beautiful book. from Canada, the United States, you read it, the person's email is there. You create a connection by sending a mail to there, and you ask for certain materials and resources, and you get in touch. The person in Canada now has a friend in Nigeria, in Akwa Ibom. And trust me, if he is for any reason coming down to this part of the world, he will reach out to his contacts. Hi there, I'll be in Nigeria on so and so for this conference in Benin. You now pay your way to Benin. That's how you meet, you know, amazing people that ordinarily you may not have access to because of your willingness and you know, to connect. And it's the same thing for every other field.
We should have titled this the master class with an economic.
I think you guys have completely dovetailed.
It's very, very reverberating to be listening to some of the things that he's saying, and it's most important to hear and then take advantage of some of the things we're hearing you say this morning. But let's take a little twist with all of your wealth of knowledge. Today is the 11th day of November. There are off-season elections happening in Imo, happening in Bayelsa and Kogi states today, and there's a lot, you know, uprising, controversies about, you know, violence, worries about the repeated resurgence of Timmy Silva. How did he get there? Why is he still there? Is he the most wanted person? Why I'm asking this question? Of course, we know that you yourself, you're a former member of Nigeria's, you know, House of Representatives, who was once represented the Oron Mbo Kobo State constituency. So you are not just a media expert or, you know, leadership consultant. You have your feet in politics. What are your thoughts with today's off-season elections? And when we come to all of this, we are still leaning all of our conversation on the black community energy. How can we take all of that and change the narrative with how politics is played in this country?
Oh, well, politics in Nigeria, although meanwhile it was Robinson Owak who served in that constituency. I served the former governor of Akwa Ibom State, you know, in his media team as a special assistant on new media. But I've served in several committees, both at the national level of the People's Democratic Party, and we've been rooted and we've followed politics. I've reported politics both as a journalist and I've also practiced politics, you know, serving in different media offices. I think the bane of politics in Nigeria is desperation, and once it is a winners take all situation, you would find desperate tactics. And the lasting solution to all of these are strong institutions. It is strong institutions that cater for all of this. That's why I expect a continuous improvement in our Electoral Act and also some judicial boldness. I expect our higher courts of competence to begin to take certain decisions away from the technicalities that they do. And I must tell you, the last wave of judgments from the Supreme Court of Nigeria were not very inspiring because it didn't help to strengthen and to assure voters that their votes will count, because what accounted for the heavy outflow of people in the last elections to vote, especially young voters who came out overwhelmingly to register and to vote, was that they thought that there was an electronic means of transmission that will completely eliminate the middle forces of distortions that has always characterized Nigeria's elections. But it appears we're back some years back again to where we were, and that doesn't inspire so much confidence. That's why you
that has currently been declared illegal by INEC in this off-season
election. Yes, and so you see that it brings back the days of brigandage and armed thuggery on election days, because if you know that, truthfully, it is the number of people who get accredited, and like we're told in the last elections, as accreditation is done, it moves straight to the server. So nobody will be planning to snatch ballot or papers, because you know that the number of accredited voters has already gone on there, and any vote above that number renders the whole process totally useless, and it will not be beneficial to anybody. So that helped to eliminate the desperation. And then if truly at the end of votes being casted, all the agents are vigilant and the results are sent from that polling unit straight to the server, that also eliminates the case of armed thugs waiting somewhere at this collation center to capture the original results and go distort it at the state collation center. That would have helped to improve the process. But we're growing, though not at a speed that is very impressive. And I'm sure that our lawmakers, our policymakers will have to, you know, think something quick and forward. And we will also have tremendous judicial backing to give, because the energy and the enthusiasm we came into the last elections with has dwindled very seriously. And I don't know whether we can get back that momentum anytime soon. That's why in Kogi today, you find you wouldn't need all that armed set of people. I was expecting by the next election cycle, we'll be voting from our phones. We'll be voting from our mailboxes, like was done in the United States. So everybody monitors national television. As you drop your one vote, you know, I mean, it reflects there, and everybody watches as the results trickle in. So the announcement at the INEC Collation Center is not that consequential, because it appears the election results are not what we voted, but what the INEC chairman says, and nothing more pretentious. That ought not to be the case. The case ought to be that everybody votes, and our votes truly count, and you can monitor the movement of the votes, you know, as it moves from Uyo through through the waters of the Atlantic Ocean and lands in Abuja. It is trackable, it is traceable, it is seeable, it is believable, and it is authentic. I mean, once that process, although there's no perfect system, but once it is fairly good, you know, it creates trust, or it engenders participation. But sadly, we are still where we were. I don't even know, I've not followed enough whether the card readers will be used, what mechanisms will be used for accreditation, and all of that. But we're not just moving as quick as we can. And you know, once you can sort out election issues, it creates a legitimacy problem. An administration that comes to stay without having the true backing of the people, and the people thinking we did not elect that person there, we did not elect that person there. And once a leader has legitimacy problems, and even military regimes used to fight to enjoy certain forms of legitimacy, because it helps in the administration and in leading people. So that's where we are as at today. We've not learnt enough from the lessons of previous elections. We've not improved enough. That's why you still having pockets of violent tendencies, and the DSS breathing down the necks of everybody, warning how people will get arrested. We're still mobilizing all the police and security agencies to those places to forestall, because we didn't do what we ought to have done.
All right. Now, since we are now, we will now go to the focus of this conversation, which is politics, self-improvement, and how we can use, you know, politicians can better provide dividends of democracy. Now, you've said something within your early comment that mentorship is part of the things that happen within the political space, but you also draw an analysis that, you know, shows that somebody can be a lot more qualified for the job, but because the person lacks the other mentoring platform, he misses out. Now, there's also been conversation about politicians not paying attention, deliberate attention to self-development. And as far as Nigeria is concerned, Africa is concerned, one of the biggest problems that has been highlighted is the problem of leadership. So why are most politicians, and I use the word most politicians because we know that there are some politicians who are very intentional in capacity building. So why do we have politicians in Nigeria, Africa, not being deliberate about, you know, self-building, self-development?
Wow, that's a very powerful question. It would need several professors and several thought leaders to pontificate on the subject matter, because there are different approaches to it. But I'll try to give my very candid take on the matter, on self-development, on leadership. You see, leadership is about responsibility. That's the foundation for leadership. And leadership operates on certain tripods. It operates on passion. It operates on your love for people. It operates on you know, the ability, the volume of knowledge that you have acquired, and then your connection to the people that you are actually willing and ready to serve. So you look at all of that. We've had leaders who have lacked some and have acquired some. If you like, acquire all the degrees in the world, acquire all the certifications in the world, If you don't have passion and love for the people, you are just an intelligent rogue. You are just a thief waiting to pounce on the intelligence of our people, because true leadership proceeds from that passion. So if you lay all the credence and all the emphasis on academic and professional qualifications and take away the finer details of our passion and the willingness to see people improve, that's why for me true leadership stems from the utilitarian and Kantian philosophical background of people like John Stuart Mills, like Jeremy Bentham, Immanuel Kant, for those who did philosophy, who believe that leadership is about doing the greatest amount of good to the greatest amount of people. It's about doing your utmost best, about making sure that as many people as possible, their lives are improved. And that's why what for me Governor Moino is doing in Akwa Ibom. That's the model, because we must trace these things where we see them being practiced. For instance, the governor has announced there will be a 13-month of basic salary for civil servants in the state. He's grouped entrepreneurs into different groups and has opted to sponsor them. What is he trying to do? He's trying to provide the greatest amount of good to the greatest amount of people that he can find possibly available. Civil servants are there. They've served through the years. Economic times, things are biting. And what can he do to ease them in a period where inflation is going to be on an all-time high, where there will be pressure on families to celebrate the Yuletide? He now directs a policy in that direction to offer a 13-month salary, the basic salary, to cushion on the effect in the economy. That's practical wisdom in display. That's practical leadership in display. And how was he able to do this? He had prepared himself for this office. He had developed himself for this office. He had tuned his passion. He had developed his empathy. Because even for people who worked with him, when he managed his hospitality outfit, when he was a pastor in his church, said, look, at every Christmas, he always had a package, for staffers, for church members to enjoy. So these things don't happen overnight. You can always trace the traits of leadership from their life work. And that's why only people who have a proven record of service and humanity should be elected into offices. So you see the remarkable difference brought in by Governor Moino, and you see that reflect in every other policy direction that he does. Even in the quality of aids and in his ability to spread out. The other day he appointed over 300 aides from each of the wards, because he believes that these were grassroots people who helped in the mobilization and should be his eyes and ears in each ward in the area. He didn't come to you to pick the politicians who are all over the city center. He went in because he believes that the greatest good should reach out to the greatest number of people, and that everybody, no matter the remoteness of their location, should be part of the leadership and governance structure of the state. So leadership is about developing your passions, tuning in, this thing. It's about loving people generally, and then adding that up to your professional and intellectual development, and you would find the perfect model leader for an age and time like this.
Okay, now two things you've said, and I want to take your mind back to the era of the former governor, now Senate President Godswill Akpabio. We used to have Akpabiomba.
That's right.
That's what it was called. But during the administration of your immediate past boss, the governor of Akwa Ibom State, Dom Emmanuel, we had a whole lot of issues surrounding that. In fact, at some point, it came from some SAs of Governor Dom Emmanuel that was the reason why the issue of pension, gratuity, emoluments, debt toll has risen because of the Akpabiomba month. I'd like to get your thought. Do you sincerely feel like it was because Akpabio gave an extra month? And that conversation has surfaced again after Governor Pastor Omoino announced the Ember Month extra package for civil servants. A lot of people are saying we have issues of emolument of retired primary school teachers and their next of kin, pension issues there. But the governor is coming to announce an Ember Month. Is this another plot that will further increase the burden on the part of the pensioners and other debts that is currently being owed by the government? Or this is one aspect that the governor is trying to cushion the effect of the hardship, and then there are other plans that will help these other group of Akwa Ibomites who are still looking up to government to solve their issues?
Every leader has his own unique leadership style, And the problems that exist per time are fundamentally different. The problems of Akwa Ibom in 2023 are not exactly in the same tone and texture as they were in 2015. So every leader has a different approach to some of these matters. One of such, because I served in the last administration, I can tell you for free, there were heavy backlogs that were inherited by the former administration, and some of them dated over 10 years, some dated more than that. I remember when the governor cleared backlog of local government workers, some dated as far back as 91 and 1992, even before the democratic dispensation. And so he invested heavily in clearing the backlog. At some point, it was as if it was just dropping water in the midst of the ocean, because it was massive, it was heavy, but he was able to, you know, take it to a very safe and comfortable corner. And since they say government is a continuum, the current administration has met with Labour, has collaborated with Labour, has even had Labour in some of its sensitive committees. And I followed the current governor to his campaigns when he met with Labour and said, look, we will have a timeline for these payments. And there is a defined timeline. In 3 months, we're going to clear this. In 4 months, we're going to clear this. That's why Nolge, that's the Association of Local Government Workers, came out and said, look, he has cleared the backlog of, is it 2022, 2021, and all the other years of, you know, entitlements that were there. The Nolge chairperson herself and Esina announced it even on the social media. So the current administration is not failing to fulfill its obligations on backlogs because of the 13th month you know, salary that it's announced. So I know people like to, you know, twist narratives in a way that will favor their political inclinations, but the current governor is doing his utmost best. And everyone has seen the state of the current economy and the fact that there is need for government to deliberately assuage the sufferings of the people. I mean, even after COVID, the United States government had to give lots of grants for businesses in America to come back to life. Airlines were grounded. Many companies were grounded because it was practically impossible for them to come up again. So government needed to give the boost. So from time to time, you would find policies from the Akwa Ibom State government that will give direct boost to, you know, the citizens. It could be, it's the civil service today, it's the business sector tomorrow, it's market women tomorrow. So expect more of such packages to continue to come to cushion of the effect. And with an excellent intelligent financial plan in place, it doesn't affect adversely the other obligations of government that already have their defined timelines. What we should pray for are more resources, because as more resources come in, it means that there will be a quicker implementation of these financial plans, and our people will be taken up, because you can see clearly that the passion for the governor to improve the lives of the people is clearly there. I mean, he literally steps up from his convoy to hand over, you know, business supports to people who sells by the street side. You can see the level of passion that he has to get people improve their human condition. So as things improve, as the state earns more, we are quite sure that even some of those other programs will come alive.
So speaking of packages, it sounds lofty, and we must say that we have seen Pastor Moina, the governor of the state, make some moves. But two things we'll quickly talk about so that we can wrap up our talk with you. You've done excellently this morning. Speaking of the over 300 personal assistants that the governor has recently employed, part of the problems that we have in the country is cost of governance. So when you spread over 300 people, multiplied by the number of wards available, it is still going to, like you just recently just answered, it's eating into the budgetary parts of the state, because these persons have to be paid. What exactly are their defined roles? Why do they need to be employed in that number? The amount of money that is going to cost us to pay these people yearly, we probably might have taken it and invested in another sector that will help us. We're talking about multiplying our resources in terms of what comes into the state. If we take these monies that we're using to pay salaries for some of the very, not widely celebrated job roles, won't we have more internally generated, revenue for the state? So let's talk about these recent employments by the state governor. Is it not too much on the treasury?
For what I see a rich leadership recruitment system. The governor is a practical person. Some of these things we we churn out are just textbook ideas that have not been tested. Okay, the governor leaves all his supporters, probably runs a cabinet of 10 people, and everybody who supported him in the elections, he does not engage them in any way. He doesn't know what goes on in the wards. He doesn't know what goes on in the local government areas, and probably comes knocking after 3 years and says, "Hey guys, I'm back. let's do it again." Practically, it's going to be impossible. Who are these 300 and something people? Are they from Mars? Are they from other planets? The Akwa Ibom people. Do they have spouses? Do they have children? Do they have dependents? You know, for the work that they are doing and being paid for, is it not for the growth of the human capital in Akwa Ibom State? It is, because human capital development must come from different approaches and different ways. And this is a way of encouraging people who were part of the leadership recruitment system to continue to grow through the rungs. I know we usually criticize people for serving as aides, and
that is something that the governor did do himself. And when he came, he said his dispensation will not be that of, you know, having PAs of the PAs of the PAs, that young persons should go and find something and do.
But you can see his model is significantly different, because other than just invite his friends, other than just invite people, just nominate people who were not really involved, he asked the party to go and nominate people one per ward. Those nominations didn't come from him. It came from the people themselves. It came from the party. So people met, every ward met, every village met, and nominated people and said, "Look, you are our micro leader. You are our, in quote, you are a small governor here. You bring back the information from there. You communicate policies from here. You communicate to His Excellency the Governor the immediate challenges of this community." The governor cannot be in every village. And so how does he know which village needs a water system, which village needs roads, which village needs these amenities? It is through the instrumentality of this first line charge, of these people who, you know, transmit their reports to the governance structure. That's the essence of having those. You
don't think it's a multiple role as what the chairman of this community should be doing?
It is not as penetrative. It is not as targeted. It is not as direct as having these people who report directly. Remember, they came from the people and are now serving in the administration. And so it means that the governor, nothing escapes his attention. So at the end of the day, that's why, for instance, now the governor just flagged off yesterday a project
local
government area.
Yeah.
It is still part of that strategy. Some of those projects are inspired by these appointments. These are the people who say, "No, Your Excellency, what we really need is this, other than this." Because now you discover that there are so many things that were built in several places in past administrations since '99 that were not really the core needs of those communities, because those projects did not emanate from the people. You can come to me and think that I need a health center when it is indeed water I need most, because if I don't drink good water, no amount of health facilities will stop people from dying or from the outbreak of cholera and measles. So it's an autochthonous system that enables the governor to have a first hand, and there is nothing wrong. I mean, it doesn't break the bank to be able to nourish and ensure that you have that smooth running leadership system, and that also engenders participation and a peaceful coexistence. Because if you allow these people completely and do not engage them, it's not as if they are beggars, or they are not professionals, or they are people who don't have their different lines of business and engagement. These are some responsible adults and professionals. I mean, I still consult, even as an aide to the governor. I still do my professional consultations and get to do things that add value, and still offer this as a service to, you know, the people and to the government of Akwa Ibom State. So all these enriches and speeds up the development. What works in America that we quote from, it will not work in Akwa Ibom, because we have a unique situation, and we have a different, we must have different models to tackle our own problems that are highly indigenous. And I think the governor has a large heart, because it takes someone that has such a big heart to be able to accommodate all this amount of people, and to genuinely love people, to pick from them and see them
Great
participate in
conversation.
governance.
All right,
Great conversation this morning. You want to say something?
A lot just coming up from what you're saying this morning.
We're going to spend 3 days here.
But seriously, we need to let you go so you can rest. But just before we let you go, one last question is something we talked about off camera, but I just feel like we need to say it here.
Okay.
You know, that relationship talk, that marriage issue that we talked about, the fact that within the South, you know, the South is bride price, getting married is like, you need, as a young man, you literally would need to rob a bank to do that. And let's be realistically fair to ourselves. The average young man in Nigeria right now goes on a salary of between 50 to 100,000 naira. And then you're looking at a bride price of about, I've seen bride price.
No, we're talking
at
about
a
marriage
million.
list.
No,
because the bride price can be really minimal.
Yeah,
The list.
It's not just about the list itself. I've seen bride price at a million naira. I've seen bride price of 450,000. I've seen bride price that is 3 million naira.
They charge
That is
according to how
beside-
educated the bride is.
Now that's beside the list itself. So how would you propose we get to solving this problem? Because the young men are crying, the young women are crying as well.
The young women are aging.
It's a cultural problem, and culture is a way and life of a people. Yeah, it only reflects who we are. Yeah, it reflects our morality, and it also reflects our greed, because these are things that have been subsumed in our way of life over the years. But I think on a brighter note, things are improving, because if they were not, you wouldn't have the volume of marriages that we get to see every other weekend, every Thursday, every Saturday.
You really think the
And
numbers are good as opposed
no,
to what we could be
the
having?
numbers are improving. I see something great. You see, even despite how astronomically long those lists are, in our local parlance, so sometimes the truth of the matter is that as you get the list, there's a provision to argue on the list and say, look, I can give 10, I can give 5. And even subsequently, when you're now fulfilling the items on that list, the traditional marriage list, you say, okay, I said I'll give 5, but now what I have is 3, and in very many cases, that does not stop the marriage from proceeding, especially when you have a reasonable and understanding in-law. So, it will meaning that marriage is not a one-day thing. You would continue to fulfill these things in different ways and different. And I mean, I experienced them when I also went to the marriage. Okay, there are things we didn't bring. And my father-in-law said, look, I tell you what I've paid after that, and happily too, has been quite more than those items that were actually required from me. So our advocacy, I hope you join us, because I think that's even part of our social orientation, is to our people to make things easy for everybody. Be considerate, be loving, be people oriented. Once you are all of that, you won't insist on some of this. And you see a young graduate who just finished from school, where do you expect the person to churn out 2 million naira to fulfill all the items in that marriage list? So we continue to plead on our people, although I think maybe some kind of legislation can also help in this regard. But before that comes, we continue to plead with our people. We continue to help them see reasons why we should help our people. Because you see, once you're not married and settled, you have certainly not kick-started certain things in life. You can procreate, you can have children, and you can develop at that speed of light. In economies where they don't even need to pay anything, all you need is the consent of 2 people, and sometimes they don't even require parental consent, and they just go ahead and marry. So we need to catch up. Like if you read This Is Our Chance by Professor Ine Henshaw, Bambulu said, the world outside is moving fast, and so we must move with it. This is our chance. So that's my own message to our people.
But really strong conversation this morning. I like the fact that he said we can consider moving a legislation in the state houses, especially in the South, using a Pampum state top of that chart, to help us navigate this. Our paramount rulers, family heads and all of that, we need to help. Someone was writing me saying that sometimes, let me just take one of our social media reactions. It says sometimes people form committee of friends to ask for support and raise money because of how difficult it is for them to be able to navigate all of this. So we do hope that times changes, especially because the economic tides are really, really upended. Inflation has affected everything. It's just sheer greed to ask for some of the things that we do. But it's been a great conversation with Anyeka Mefinbar this morning. Of course, he is the special assistant to the governor on social reorientation, Akwa Ibom State, of course, and a very astute journalist himself. Alumni of several institutions in the United States. We celebrated him this morning for being one of the Black community Forbes recognized young persons. So he has a lot of feathers to his cap, and we are celebrating him for giving us his time and sharing his wealth of knowledge with us this morning on Rise and Shine. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, you guys, for making me look taller than my usual height. Francis and Oyai, I'm very delighted, and the other great guys in the studio. It's my first time on SpectrumTv, and I felt very good. And like Peter said, if it's possible, let's make 3 tents here. Maybe one for Oyai, one for Francis. And I'll take one, and we'll stay here almost forever. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It was really my pleasure.
I would usually like to ask, do you have any wrap-up words, something you want to leave the people with this morning before we call it short?
Yeah, once the passion is right, like a former governor would say, everything is possible. And in my own words, this is our moment. This is your moment. Take the right action, and with the right disposition. When preparation meets opportunity, expect a masterpiece.
Expect a masterpiece. It means it behooves on us to continue working on developing ourselves and taking advantage of these kinds of information made available to us. It's been a very robust interview this morning with Anyeka Mefinbar. One way for you to catch up on everything that has been shared is for you to follow us across all social media platforms, all of which you can find at SpectrumTv Live. This interview is live on YouTube, and you'll be able to go back and have a recap of some of the very pivotal things that he shared with us this morning. We'll take a very quick break. When we return, it will be the concluding part of Rise and Shine Saturday. Stay with us.
Okay, now I actually appreciate this look better.
You Rise and Shine Saturday.
Now that takes me to the question.
For brilliant broadcast and entertainment, sports on the go, and news around the world, watch Spectrum TV on StarTimes DTH Channel 421 and free-to-air frequency 12733. Visit our website, spectrumtvlive.ng. Spectrum TV, broadening your horizon.
Okay, now I actually appreciate this. Okay, now I actually appreciate this look better.
You Rise and Shine Saturday.
Now that takes me to the